Hey Make Toes, this is Vention. Having a pretty decent day today. The pain is dramatically decreasing. I've run out of my antibiotics. I barely need the diapers anymore. I could probably fly home without them, but I think I'll wear one anyway just in case. As far as the whole medical thing goes, there's been a delay, and I can't get my PET scan here until at least 4 weeks have elapsed between my surgery and the PET scan, because apparently healing tissue really sucks up the sugar. So if I get a PET scan sooner, it's quite likely that it'll look like my entire lower torso here is cancerous when it might not be, right? Probably isn't. I'm really loving the colostomy bag. I don't know if anybody's ever said that before, but it is so easy to handle. I can see why a non-mechanic would have a lot of trouble with this. People who aren't really good with their hands, they would need a lot of help with this. But man, I've got YouTube, and even though the stoma nurse threw me under the bus and provided me with an incomplete kit, my mechanical abilities and my higher intelligence than average is enough to make me able to figure the whole thing out all by myself. I did screw it up a little bit the other day because there was one fact that I was not aware of. When you put these stoma discs on, when the moisture hits the disc, they tend to expand, and I trimmed it too close to the stoma, so when it expanded, it started pushing on the stoma, and then when it was trying to release some turds, it was painful and it started bleeding. So I had to pull it off, trim a new one with a little bit more space, and maybe I trimmed it too big, but but then the sealing strip, there's this like Play-Doh material that's crazy sticky. I had a bitch of a time with that at first, but then I realized that I could use a little speed stick deodorant on the tips of my fingers, and that seals up the pores and everything, and then I can modify and mold the strip accordingly, put it around the stoma, stick the disc on, hang the bag on it, and I'm done. So basically tomorrow I will be flying out of Tijuana, heading back to the States, or my home, and then I'm going to be there for about 2 weeks, and then I'll be coming back for the PET scan. And then after the PET scan results come in, then I will determine if liver ablation or liver hypertherapy, or whatever they call it, where they stick that probe in, then it heats up and it cooks your tumor. Much better than radiation. Much less. It's much more targeted, and it's much less damage and much less toxins for the rest of your body. I prefer mechanical means like that whenever I can. So yeah, then I'll get that done, and then after that I'll hit the alternatives super hard to wipe out any of that microscopic stuff. Right now I've got a fleet of fire trucks, right? That's my immune system, right? And I have a gigantic bunch of communist leftist ignited forest fires, like in Oregon, burning so high that my immune system can't knock it down. So once I get the bulk of the tumor material removed, then I'll have a better shot at knocking down the rest of it. So, good times. I'll be happy to get home and get back to my comfort zone and everything, and have more control over my food, because when I come back here, I think I'll go for an Airbnb instead of a hotel, then I'll be able to cook some things for myself and actually have some decent nutrition while I'm here, because ordering Uber Eats and there's no way to cook in the hotel room, and it's just, you know, it's just not conducive to fighting cancer. So there is that. Okay, that's the first thing I wanted to cover with my cancer situation, my progress and everything. Second thing I wanted to cover was the economy. Apparently, I read an article recently that said 22% of all US dollars in existence have been printed this year in 2020. That is going to create inflation, and when that inflation hits, it's not going to be pretty, and everything that you own that's denominated in dollars will go up in apparent numerical value. And then, for example, if you own some stock, right, the inflation will cause your stocks to go up, just like in Venezuela. But the thing is, they won't increase in value because the dollar will be worth less. So, but that will not stop them from charging you long-term or capital gains taxes on the investment, and basically gouging you. The IRS will just gouge you, saying that that's income, when in reality it's freaking inflation that has been printed by the banksters, right? Mostly to bail out all the big, huge corporations, just like in 2008. And the big distraction of the virus allows them to do anything they want. And then they sent a pittance to us and got that 1,200, put it into Bitcoin, by the way. And then basically they just take the vast majority of it for themselves, right? But we are going into a situation where the dollar is going to be worth probably 20% less, right? Because they printed 20% dollars, so I wouldn't be surprised to see 20% inflation this year. So if we do, all those stocks will go up 20%, and you won't be able to buy anything more with them than you can now. But the IRS will charge you capital gains tax, even though it's a complete friggin' ripoff. And they're basically just printing money and charging us income tax on the inflation. What a scam. So and then on top of that, those of us who still have jobs, we will suddenly see that all the prices of everything have gone up 20%, and we will be forced to either negotiate a higher pay raise to try to compensate for that for our bosses. But that's difficult, or we will be forced to fall into a lower standard of living and deal with like just being less wealthy, right? The only way out of really from that is probably precious metals, right? Because you can go, at least in the US or at least in Washington State. That's one cool thing about Washington State. Silver is considered money, you know, just another form of money, and there's no sales tax on it. So if you want to come to Washington State and hit a coin shop, you can assuming you can buy any now, because silver is so expensive. But you can then take the silver, right, and then after the 20% inflation, the silver will have gone up probably a lot more than that. And then you can take it and sell it back to the coin shop for cash. And of course, you should claim the IRS income. Oh, of course I will. And then, so that's a good off-grid way of preserving some of your wealth. But I'm a big fan of Bitcoins, guys. I am convinced that within the next 2 years, we're going to get a 10x out of this. And if you have $1,000, that'll be 10 grand. 100,000, that's $1 million, right? And that's some of that is going to be taken by inflation, of course, and they'll charge you income tax on it. But basically, it's a real winner. And all these big corporations are buying Bitcoin now and putting it in their reserves. There's multiple corporations. In fact, and even Tesla, the Tesla factory, has a Bitcoin ATM installed in it. So all the Tesla builder guys, they can buy Bitcoins on break. So yeah, good times. And wealthy people and family offices, they're going to be moving into Bitcoin. So I highly recommend Bitcoin, just as I did in 2015 when the Bitcoins were $300 each. And I would say, buy Bitcoins, buy Bitcoins, buy them. And a lot of you guys listened, thank goodness. And then some of you are now retired, just as I am. So, good times. That's a way of taking your power back from the system. And as long as my Bitcoins stay in my hardware wallet, they are immune to taxation, and I can take them anywhere in the world and basically live anywhere I choose. This time I just peeled off a few and stuck them on the cloud. But later on, if I decide to expatriate permanently, I might bring them along and I'll have to decide. It's a vulnerability. You don't want to really have that much money with you. I'd have to find a way to really lock it down. I have some ideas, so let's put it that way. But anyway, highly recommend Bitcoin. Other than that, yeah, I'm flying out in the morning. I'm going to get another hour on the treadmill, and I can go a lot faster today than I could yesterday and the other days. And I do believe I am ready to haul my luggage through the airport and get on that plane and fly home. So yeah, good times. That's about all I got for you, Meg Toes. That's about all I can think of. And don't get married.